Hey guys, Jesse here. So in this video, I want to answer a question that comes up a lot, which is longboarding a good workout? Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a pretty sporty guy, but whenever I take my longboard out for a small ride, a small cruise around the beach, and I start pushing, it gets my blood pumping and I start sweating right away. So the question is, how much of a workout is longboarding? Some recent studies by the Harvard Medical School have shown that by longboarding on a regular basis, we burn about 300 to 450 calories, which in a week amounts to about half a pound to a pound of weight loss, depending on your weight, depending on your intake. The short answer is longboarding is a good workout. How much of a workout is it in terms of cardio training, of balance training, in terms of strength training, and of joint mobility and ligament strengthening? What I want to do in this video is go through each of the common longboarding styles and try to assess what's the impact of riding the longboard doing these activities, and also any potentially negative impact that each activity has. So let's get started. Let's start with cruising. So when you're cruising, you're mostly pushing with your foot, but you're riding in a relaxed way. You're not going crazy with it. So cruising is not going to get your heart pumping really high. It's basically going to be less than an inline skating session. So that's known to get your heart rate to about 140 to 160 beats per minute. Now, in terms of balancing, pushing on your front foot, balancing on your front foot, keeping your center of gravity stable while you're pushing, that's going to be a good balance training. So I'd say balance workout, medium, whereas the cardio workout is probably low to medium. Now, in terms of strength training, I would say that's also medium, because as you're squatting on your front leg, you're working your front quads, your core muscles have to engage to maintain your balance, and you also use your quadriceps and calf to push on the ground pretty hard. So I would say that's the medium strength workout. The last aspect is joint mobility. It's probably also a medium kind of workout, because you're extending your rear hip to lower your back foot to the ground for pushing. You're using your lumbar muscles and lumbar joints to keep your back straight as you're pushing. So you're leaning forward and pushing with your back foot, and that engages your lumbar spine. And finally, your ankles play an important role for directing your foot in the right orientation and keeping it stable. Now, the negative aspects of cruising, well, if you're pushing for a long time, even though you're not pushing on a continuous basis, you may develop some imbalances because you're constantly pushing with a single leg and you're working your body in an asymmetrical way. So that may lead to some issues. The other thing is, if you bend a lot as you push and you bend at the spine instead of bending at the hips right here, then you may also get some back pain because of that. You need to learn to keep your lower back straight and brace your spine, and always bend at the hips, not at the spine. I just added my longboard here next to me because it looks so good. So anyway, let's move on to carving. Carving is the next style I'm going to talk about in terms of how good a workout it is. Now, carving has a low cardio impact, because when you're carving, you're basically making S turns on your board, going back and forth, shifting your weight. So it's not going to get your heart pumping, probably even less so than cruising and pushing. But when you're carving, you're shifting your weight left and right, and you're doing body rotations. So that's going to be a great balance training. You're going to learn to get your center of gravity moving on the board to get it to turn in a fluid way. So I'd say cardio low and balance training relatively high. Now, in terms of strength training, I would say carving is a medium kind of workout for strength, because it requires that you get low on your board and you compress before the turn. So going to the turn, you're going to compress to put some weight on your rail, and going out of the turn, you're going to unweight from the board. So you're going to push off on your legs, on your quads, on your glutes, and that's going to be good strength training. Also, your core muscles are always going to be involved to keep your center of gravity stable and to get it lower or higher depending on where you are in the turn. The joint workout is probably pretty high, because you're always flexing and unflexing your knees. You're always moving your ankles and your hips in order to get that rotation, that body rotation going, and your board carving. and you're using all your body joints to get that gyrating movement all the way from your upper body to your midsection to your lower body in a wave-like movement. That involves a lot of joint mobility. A potentially negative impact of carving on your body. Since you're always gyrating and rotating, you can end up with some issues in your lower back because of that spinal rotation. If you don't keep your back braced, then you may be doing some spinal rotation that can cause problems in the long run. Freestyle riding, it probably gives you the highest cardio workout. You constantly go into explosive jumps. So 1 hour of freestyle is probably equivalent to a few hours of mellow cruising or inline skating. The balance workout is also very high because you're always jumping off your board and landing back onto your board. You're riding on the edges of the board, so on the nose, on the tail, on the edges. So the balance requirements are really high. Now in terms of strength, freestyling doesn't require prolonged flexing of muscles. So it's not that hard of a strength training, but it does again engage your core muscles to always keep balancing in very extreme situations. In that sense, freestyling is a strong core workout as well. Now where freestyling gives you the most intense workout is on the joints, on your ligaments, because you're always doing multidimensional movements in a rapid succession, and freestyling engages full body motions with explosive flexing and extensions. So when you do a nose manual or you do a flip trick, you engage a lot of joints in an integrated way. And that's also related to the negative impact of freestyling. As you land on your board, your knees and ankles and hips take some serious hits, and in the long run that may lead to some issues. However, freestyling on the longboards typically is not as bad as freestyling on a skateboard because you don't jump as high. Instead, you do a lot more horizontal tricks with not as much impact on the joints. Freeriding, well, freeriding involves riding downhill and carving to control your speed, and sliding. That's not going to be a very hard cardio workout since you're basically sliding downhill, but it's going to be a very good balancing workout. Especially when you're sliding, since you need to push your board across the road to get your wheels to slide, and so you need to offload your weight and your center of gravity to get your center of gravity off the board. So that requires some serious balancing skills, and of course it's going to involve your core muscles to get that balance going. So that's going to be some strength training as well. When you're sliding, you also need to engage your quads and glutes and calves to press very heavily on your rail, your uphill rail, and that requires some serious muscle strength for that. Now it's also going to be a medium joint workout. You're going to be using your knees a lot, your hips are going to be engaged a lot, your ankles, especially when sliding, because you need to really put all your weight onto those joints to get the board to slide. Your shoulders and back joints are also going to be involved for turning when you're carving in order to shed some speed. Now, one of the negative impacts of freeriding is the impact on your joints of sliding. Sliding at really high speed can really have a strong impact on your hips and knees and ankles. So what you should do is try to control your speed all along instead of going really fast and sliding all of a sudden and getting all that force onto your joint in one shot. You should also be physically prepared before sliding hard and doing some serious cross training and muscle strengthening. Speedboarding is similar to freeriding. Go downhill at fast speed, but in speedboarding you're going faster. Like freeriding, you're not getting a very intense cardio workouts, but you are getting a nice balance workout, especially if you're doing the speed tuck that requires you to put one foot behind the other. And when you're turning, you need to shift your weight without moving your feet too much. And that's a hard skill to master. It's harder than riding with your feet parallel as you do in freeriding. It's also going to be a medium strength workout because you need to hold that tucking position that's hard on your quads. Since you're leaning on your quads, it's going to be hard on your calves and on your glutes, especially if you're going to be holding that tuck position for a long time. It's also going to be demanding on your lower back, again, because you're leaning forward for a long duration. Speedboarding can be hard on your joints because of the pressure on your knees and your back ankle, since your back foot is on its tiptoes. So the ankle is flexed for a long time. And of course, it can be hard on your lower back, especially if you're using the European tuck position with a rounded back. The potential negative impact of downhill speedboarding is that you're using an asymmetrical posture with one foot forward and the other behind it. So again, you may develop muscle imbalances due to that asymmetrical posture over the long run if you do it a lot. So to recap, is longboarding a good workout? It certainly is. It can be more of a workout for certain styles than others. It can have more negative impact with certain styles than others. If you do a lot of freestyling, then watch out for your joints, but you're certainly going to be burning a lot of calories. If you do downhill or freeriding, then you're going to be doing less cardio, but you're going to have a great balancing workout. And if you're just cruising around like most people do, you're also going to have a really nice workout, although a more mellow one. So to achieve the same results, you may need to ride for a longer time. You're also going to be working on your balance at the same time, and you'll have much less impact on your joints than other more extreme riding styles. That's all I have for today. So ride on, take care, be safe, and until next time.